Yeah. Yeah. Western Canada. Okay. Settings one. It's going to language. Oida, what's your office phone number? Okay, I'm speaking quickly. Okay, quickly. Five eight seven. Huh? We need to do something. Good. Let's do nine. It's okay, It's missing a 839. 839. Yeah. 19. Yeah. Yeah. It's also the Lincoln. Okay. Please answer it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. You know, what's the deal? Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome again. Help yourself to cooking the tea on the right side of the hall. And please kindly put your commitment on the wall. And the idea of the commitment is to say that is to bring to remembrance the things you would like to do after this event or whatever it is that you're committed to do. So please, you can do it as many times as possible on every corner of the wall. Thank you so much. Sarap ng di ba? So, pero kung napapagsa ko sarap. Oh, come right now. Yeah. It's very hard to find. Okay. Welcome to almost stressed me out. Oh, no, oh that's fine. I will. Huh? You're good, right? I'm good. You're gonna talk. Why do you want to stress your kid to me? All the things that you making. I know, that gives me the most stress. I know, right? Anyway, try and make yourself comfortable. That's coffee first. I want you to look at me. Okay. I was at one time when I was in France. Turns out because I do not know the name. So I'm following kind of. Oh, I like you. What are my photographer? Come on, I talk to you. Right back. Oh, she just spoke about it. And I guess you want to see the picture. Come on, that's oh. Oh. Yeah, so like, oh, okay. That's sharing here. I'll take my dog. We just walked on. Bonjour, bonsoir. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We will be starting in about 1 minute. If you don't mind, sit. Nous allons commencer cette cérémonie.
So tonight, I will be your MC, and then we'll see in some circumstances. I have some other had in some other instances, but I want to bring them all tonight. So, first of all, welcome everyone to this wonderful room for the conversation, um, conversation of tourism, Mandela House Men. And I'm very happy to see the room filled with men. And very happy to see the women being here to support, get us through this awesome journey that we have as men living in this life. In this wonderful. Mon nom c'est Gauthier, MCG dans cette émission, et soit pour et faciliter cet événement qui est organisé par Mandela House. So this event is hosted and planned, organized by Mandela House, and we will have fun. We have interesting conversations. Some of them are quite deep, and I'm looking forward to the panel. The way one of them was quite provocative. So without further ado, I would like you to just take like 30 seconds from this photographic glass of water and ask your neighbor, like, what is his name, where he's coming from? And I'll be back in about 1 minute. Just like, network connect, bring the eyes, and I'll be back in about 1 minute. Yeah, I think it's amen. Yeah. My wife forgot. Yeah, I'm telling you, my wife forgot. Okay, 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 okay. This is that one. Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. Being grateful, provide. So we will review and just before we go to the more serious part of our evening, big housekeeping work. If you need to use the washroom, just there. Right in front of me here you have the washroom. And in case of emergency, in the road on the floor, whatever it is, and we have to emergency exit left, across, and on the right side. But be careful if you use that right door because we have like a table for from our camera there. So yeah, so therefore I would like to call here two amazing people who will do the land acquisition in a very different way. But I won't tell more to enjoy it and can comment for. So I'd like to call here Michael, who is the main program lead at Ruth House and Mandela House, and Anna, who is the program manager as well. Please put your hand and welcome here. Hello, everyone. Once again, you're welcome. So let's do an African week. We are not what has been broken. We are what we choose to rebuild. With the sound of the drum in our heart, men with African descent can rise with clarity, purpose, and the strength of generations we have behind us.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Mandela House Men's Conversation 2025, the team from silence to strength. Before we begin today, I want to honor the land we gathered on. Here in Calgary, we stand on the traditional territories of Blackfoot Confederacy, Titican, Kainai, and Piikani, along with the Sisali Nation, the Iyari Nakoda nations of Chiniki, Beard Falls, and Goose and the Métis Nation of Abata Region 3. We are grateful to the indigenous people who have cared for this land for generations, and those teachings on community and healing continue to guide us. Our theme, From Silence to Strength, reminds us that many of the African men we support at Mandela House know what it means to carry unspoken pain and rise with resilience. Strength is not just personal, it grows when we stand together. Today, we commit to breaking the silence around family violence. We recognize that silence isolates, but community restores. Silence hides wounds, but courage reveals them. Together, we are building relationships rooted in respect, truth, safety, and creating space where every man feels safe and supported. May we honor the indigenous people of this land, the African men in our community, and the journey of every man in this room. And may we move forward with open hearts and a shared commitment to a world where family violence has no place. Thank you for being here, for your courage, and for helping turn silence into strength. Thank you.
Now, here you stay with me from silence to strength. Thank you. Merci. merci, I heard that. God, you know, so much. Peut-être, est-ce qu'on peut encore applaudir pour Anne et Michael? I see that all by you and talk what I was saying. Public again for yourself. That's awesome. Anytime I hear the drum, it reminds me my childhood. In the village, when you hear the drum, it might mean multiple things. It might mean there's an announcement need to be made. It might mean there's a celebration. It might mean it's just a wedding. So drum has a huge power. Thank you for giving us a preview that to the drum. Donc maintenant, nous allons passer à certaines allocutions. Et on va commencer nos allocutions par personnes que j'admire beaucoup. So we'll start our readings by someone that I admire, right? She is Emily from the Acadia region in Calgary. Emily Diana Batten,
French. And so you'll have to also, excuse me, I did not bring my glasses, so this is going to be interesting. All right. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. So my name is Diana Batten. I am the proud MLA for Calgary, Acadia, which is where we find ourselves. This beautiful riding starts all the way at the top of Blackfoot and goes all the way down to Fish Creek. It also is home, of course, to Ruth House and to a lot of amazing constituents that I have the honor of serving. The other hat I wear is Shadow Minister for Child and Family Services and for childcare. When I say childcare, I mean early childhood development. So yeah, might be a little weird me being here tonight, looking around at a group of amazing, engaging community members, none of which are small children.
or their families.
I was going to say, but how many of us in this room happen to play a major role in life? Raise your hands. Let's go back to script. I am truly honored to gather with you guys. I was honored to be present when Mandela House opened. And I am so incredibly proud every time I see these lovely videos, for one, but all the other content that we receive. And when I say content, I mean amazing resources and amazing connections between people who otherwise wouldn't be. We all know in this room how important it is to feel seen, accepted, and that you're moving towards something positive. And looking around, there are a few new faces. I was trying to think of how to phrase that as a joke. It's obviously that was my pregnant pause there. But I am honored, we are honored to be here and just bear witness to all the amazing things you're doing and to learn from you. One of the amazing parts of my job is that I get to amplify your voices. And so it doesn't matter which hat I happen to be wearing at the time, whether or not I'm getting treated to some amazing local food that I would find anywhere else, like my very good friends, or standing here, supposed to be bringing greetings. Bringing greetings. Hello, I'm Diana. I am very, very grateful to be here with you guys this evening. I hope to learn and grow new connections with all of you as we work forward. Well, what was it? Bringing from silence to strength. Amazing. So thank you for including me, and I'm going to keep stuff Oops, hear that? I'm gonna keep babbling. No, I'm going to stop babbling. Don't please let them take this from me before I just keep talking.
Thank you, thank you. I know you have a lot, and, and right through, right through. I've known, yeah, of so at NDP, that's a school, a French school, and there was an event a year and a half. She was there. You have seen her with the kids, it's like this. So, from time, just don't. So when you pause and kind of like reflect for a couple of seconds on that thing that happened, I'll give you one. Share with your neighbor. What does it mean? Don't allow pause. I'll be back in about 2 minutes. I just want to know how to share with your neighbor. And I'll be right back.
Oh, got it. Okay. And now it's working. Uh, the percentage. Okay. Yeah. I get the
Public information so we will review, and I'll give you more time later on to exchange and to talk about the topic. So if you're just joining us, housekeeping, mention the washroom in front of me. We have some coffee and tea over there. We have the my left across the wall and nous allons continuer avec les allocutions. So now we are going to move to another reading from the person. Thank you very much for that video, and thank you. Even what will happen, it will have to fix it before. So yeah, have a nice weekend. Quick question. How many times did we hear violence in this race? You can come back later on, like, why a lot of time in this grade. So I mentioned when I started here that we are here today because of Mandela. I never told you what organization or what did they do. Now we have a video that will play to explain you. I love pictures, I love videos. That will tell us who is Mandela House before we go through the proper introduction. We dance? We don't want me to dance. Dance and all really like run through the doors like there was an emergency. Once you're getting that video ready, um, I would like to thank again all the men. I know it's a busy Saturday. You left your household, your wives, your kids here tonight. I have to thank all the ladies, the women. You know, we sometimes say behind like a big man, there's actually a big lady. Um, Excellent. That's the video of the Mandela House. I was there at the opening ceremony last year. I'll tell you later on what's my favorite place there. Merci beaucoup. Est-ce qu'on peut applaudir pour la vidéo? And thank you very much for the very helpful. Recommend and encourage you to do a stop tour and visit the house. It's way nicer than you can see on the video, I can tell you. I will tell you that my favorite place, you probably won't believe it, was the backyard. Yes, I know, right? It's nothing there but that's where we can have a 15 man sitting down, playing video or something and gathering. It's very much. So now that you have seen the video, I'll call here the architect, the mind behind Pastor D to tell us more about the executive director of Mandela.
Thank you so much, everybody. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second annual Men's Conversation. We had this conversation last year. How many of you were here last year? Yeah, we had this conversation last year, and it was so fruitful in creating a space for men to come and just talk about the challenges that is happening in our community and in our homes. I want you to just, go back a step with me. Can everybody just close their eyes? We're going to just have we're going to go back memory lane. Now imagine a 5-year-old boy, or you as a 5-year-old. Just imagine a 5-year-old boy. That boy's playing, the boy's just doing his own thing and being a kid. You ask the boy, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you think that boy says? Please shout it out. A doctor? Firefighter,
Engineer,
an engineer, a lawyer, an astronaut, a footballer.
pilot.
This little boy has lots of dreams. While your eyes are still closed, is there anywhere that you see this little boy thinking, when I grow up, I want to be called an abuser? Is there anywhere you see anywhere in that little boy's life where when you ask him, he says, I want to be someone that beats up somebody else, that is known as a perpetrator? Doesn't exist, does it? It's not there. Open your eyes. You see, when the little boy is growing up, he just wants to be everything you've described. He wants to be a hero. He wants to do something heroic. He just wants to be good and take care of people. But then that little boy, as he, in the home, he sees mom and dad fighting all the time. And what does it do to him? Talk to me, what does it do to the boy? It changes the boy. That little boy is abused in the home or by a family member or by someone in the community. What does it do to that boy? It traumatizes, it causes fear. Anybody else? It crushes the boy's spirit. Now imagine the little boy is being told, you're a boy, suck it up. Boys don't cry. Boys don't do that. Be a man. What do you think happens to that little boy or as a teenager? He suppresses the feelings. Over here, anger, pain, hardens his heart. You see, every little boy wants to be perfect. He wants to be a good boy. He wants to do something with his life. But because that little boy is exposed to abuse, because that little boy has been abused, because that teenager has been abused, because that teenage boy has gone through traumatic experiences that has been unresolved, that he wasn't allowed to express or to deal with. A boy growing up sees the way his dad treats his mom. What do you think he's going to do when he grows up? Models that. A boy growing up seeing the way his uncle or his auntie or whoever it is aggressive, angry all the time, throwing things. What do you think he's going to model when he grows up? The same thing. You see, we have men in our society that have gone through trauma. And because those trauma haven't been addressed, they've only been taught one way to deal with it. And that is the way they saw growing up. A boy that has been, or that has been, that saw how his dad was behaving, treating his mother, thinks it's normal. And guess what he does? He does the same thing with his own relationship. A boy, a teenager that is told, suck it up, be a boy, boys don't cry, keeps it all in and becomes angry at life and demonstrates that anger through expressions of violence. Nobody grows up, nobody in society started life wanting to be an abuser or wanting to be labeled as an abuser. In Ruth's house, we believe that everybody has gone through trauma. And that trauma, because it hasn't been resolved, they haven't received the help that they need. It's now demonstrated in different ways. We believe that everybody is a victim, not just the survivors, even the perpetrators, because somewhere along the line, something was broken in that child. Am I making sense? Somewhere along the line, that boy's dream, that boy's image was tarnished, was broken, and that all he had around him was negative experiences. We're not justifying abuse. We're trying to make people understand where abuse came from. Mandela House, we started Mandela House as a project, as a research back in 2022, I think it was, 2022, 2023. We just wanted to find, we started off with the women's shelter, and then we wanted to find out how do we prevent family violence in our society? And through the research, through the focus groups, through all of these surveys, everything we did, we kept hearing the same thing. You've got to work with men and boys. You've got to work with men and boys because 80% of abuse does come from men and boys. And so we took all the research, all of the results, the focus groups, everything, and we started Mandela House as a safe place to restore men's dignity, as a safe place for men who also have been victims of abuse that society does not want to recognize, to get help and support that they need. 1 in 20 men are victims of abuse. 1 in 20 men. Yeah. So that, and then we wanted to create a place where those who have been removed by the police have a place to come to get help and not just be labeled and disregarded in society. Mandela House is a place that offers safety, that offers, shelter, that offers support, and most importantly, that works to restore men's dignity. Because anybody, given the help, given access to support, can turn their lives around. And we must give them that same opportunity that we give to women. Mandela House is the first emergency shelter in Western Canada, serving our community. And we've done this work over the last year with no financial support, no funding, but with support of community, with the support of businesses, organizations that believe that men deserve a second chance, that believe that every man deserves the same help that women have access to. We have supported over 150 men in the last 1 year. To be able to get resources, to be able to access support, to be able to, for them to know that somebody is standing with you. Somebody believes you. Somebody wants to help you. Somebody that wants to make sure that you also have what it takes to turn your life around. I'm very proud of the work that we do at Mandela House. It's a place of no judgment. We don't judge you. Society has already done that. We don't condemn you. We don't blame you. All we want to do is how do we restore you? Because that relationship may be over, but you still need to have relationship with your children. Your children still need to see you that you are a good father, that you are a good man. The marriage may be over, but your role in society and your place in society still exists. And we don't want it to be a role and a place whereby all they know you for is an abuser or a perpetrator. We want to change the narratives and make sure that everyone that comes to us for help, they have that help that they need. So I'm thankful that you're all here. We're going to have lots of conversations as to how do we improve the services for men and the support for men. And how do we ensure that Mandela House is not the only place, but that there are other places that focuses on men? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. D. Can you hear me clearly? Loud enough? Okay. Alors, there are some post-its on your tables. Some are pink, green, blue. We have two commitment walls, one on my left side and one on my right. Oh, even have two more across the wall. So we have four of them. We would like you throughout the evening to write down a commitment, something that comes from your heart, that you commit to, and put it on the commitment wall. Donc, nous avons sur vos tables des post-it que vous pouvez utiliser pour écrire vos engagements. Vos engagements, est-ce que vous vous engagez à faire durant les prochains mois, les prochaines années. Donc, et nous avons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 en affiche, vous pouvez les couper. Next announcement, someone lost his CIDC card. Check your wallet. I can tell you, all you need to know is the CIDC card. Yeah, that's it. Just check your wallet. If you are missing something, just take it to the desk and they'll return it to you. Good try, Pastor D. I saw you coming. I saw you coming. All right. So we are going to jump in the keynote speaker area. So I would like here to call no, I want to say Mr. or Mrs. I don't want to be wrong. So I'll play it safe and don't be offended. Terence Winter. All right, thank you. Dr. Terence Winter, men's role in preventing domestic violence and building safe families. Oh, okay. Nobody know. Look at how sharp, right? So, are you going to stand here or do you want to have it here? Up to you.
How beautiful are we? This is a pleasure, this is a privilege, and I feel blessed, honored being in this place and to see men really engaging. Good evening, brothers. Good evening, community leaders. Well, it is an honor to stand with you at this Mandela House Men's Conference from silence to strength. Men addressing family violence. Tonight, we gather not in shame, not in blame, but in courage. First, I would like to acknowledge and observe November 19th, International Men's, highlighting the many males who have saved lives and assisted others through intervention, counseling, and mediation. The world celebrates and honors many contributions and sacrifices of boys and men. International Men Day is observed in 99 nations and resonates with everyone from different ethnicities, religions, classes, and geographical locations. There are invisible men who are never acknowledged and not appreciated. The invisible men who are not the front page of the newspapers. Invisible men who do not win awards. Let us appreciate and acknowledge these humble, positive male role models who quietly make sacrifices for their families, communities, nation. We step into a conversation that is long overdue, a conversation about men, family violence, and the courage it takes to confront both our pain and our responsibility. Silent strength is not just a theme. It's a call to action. Because the truth is, men can be both abusers and victims, and both realities deserve honest attention. We gather as men who believe that our silence has lasted long enough and that our collective strength can shape a safer, healthier future for our families. It is time to break the silence and create spaces where accountability, healing, and support. Tonight, we will begin a conversation that invites accountability, healing, and solidarity. A conversation where men stand together not in shame, but in strength to build a safer, more compassionate future for everyone. Far too long, men's mental health has been treated as an afterthought. But when men suffer in silence, families suffer, relationships suffer, and the community suffer. Men's mental health is important. It is not a footnote, but as a foundation of safer homes and healthier lives. And let me be clear, access and for help and support for men should be mandatory, not support systems must be proactive, accessible, and designed to meet men where they are before crisis becomes. This reminds us of that positive male role models are not distant celebrities. They are men who are the fathers who provide, the uncles coaching youth after school, the brothers who choose patience over anger, and the elders who guide us with wisdom. Every man living decent, honest lives deserve to be celebrated, and tonight we honor that strength. Too often, our stories are overshadowed by narratives of failure. Men contributes daily to the fabric of our communities through mentorship, through partnership, through fatherhood, through environmental stewardship, and through leadership that builds rather than. Your presence today is an evidence of a commitment to growth, accountability, and the positive. However, we cannot talk about contribution without this calls us to pay attention to men's social, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. We often learn to equate strength with saying silence about fear, stress, trauma, and pain. Silence is not strength. Silence is something. When men heal, family heal. When men learn emotional literacy, children think. When men care for their health, communities thrive. We also must acknowledge that men too face discrimination in social services, public institutes, and legal systems. Recognizing these realities does not finish the struggle of women. It strengthens the call for fairness, empathy, equity. A just society listens to the pain of everyone, expects accountability from everyone. This challenges us to improve gender relations and promote gender equality. Equality does not reduce us, it refines us. Healthy masculinity does not compete with women, it collaborates, protects, respects, and uplifts. When men stand for equality, family violence declines, communities stabilize, and trust grows. Finally, a safer, better world where all people can grow to their full potential. That world begins with conversations like this one. It begins when men hold one accountable with love, when we commit to correcting harmful behaviors, our own and each other's, when we replace silence with support, and when we choose strength that nurtures rather than harm. Brothers, the journey from silence to strength is not just an event. It is. Let this gathering serve as a spark that ignites new responsibility, deeper compassion, and renewed purpose. Together, we can shape a future where our children inherit peace instead of pain. Together, we can build a safer world where we all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clarence. Impossible to summarize. Yes. The only thing that I highlight is November 19th, Wednesday. It's 2 days after it was passed that one of the people sent a message. Hey, happy International Men's Day. I said, okay, hold on. What is Women's Day? We heard this before. So I have to complain here on the mic. But I think we are making progress. We're making progress, and hopefully next year, 2 days before, 2 days after, that which. Donc, ce que je retiens de l'intervention de M. Clarence, c'est que l'homme est une fondation. L'homme est un pilier de la société, de la famille. Et si l'homme se sent bien, la famille se sent bien. So before we move forward, I'd like to acknowledge some sponsors who have made this event possible. So I'll start with Timitopi Olukule, the Southern African Market, Oshmel Global Foods, and Indirect Entertainment. Please, our hands together for the I'd also like to remind us to write on the post-it and use put our ideas or commitment on the commitment wall. Our next piece tonight will be a pilot. So the theme, they will be talking around the understanding men's perspective on domestic violence / abuse. Comprendre les perspectives des hommes sur la question, la problématique des violences domestiques ou des abus domestiques. As Mr. Clemens was talking, I looked at the banner of Mandela's house. And I love the last word of the first sentence. A safe space for Black men experiencing family crisis. Not family violence, not family suffering. Crisis is what happened first, and then it will die. So I'm pretty sure we'll dig deeper into that during this panel discussion. And there's nobody better than Pastor D to facilitate this panel discussion. Now let's introduce our speakers tonight. Please, let's all welcome Pastor D as the facilitator of the panel. And I quickly call here the panelists and to properly introduce them right after that. So Mr. Fobete Binga, our first panelist, please join us here on the stage, followed by Mr. Danny Egbuba. If you're here, please join us here on the stage. Thank you, I appreciate the support. If you don't upload for them, they won't stand up. So, next one is Ben Bani Joko. Is he here? Again. And the last person is Mr. Serge Nilinkwa. Yes, yes.
Awesome. Test your microphones. Thank you so much. We're going to have a conversation, but we also want you to contribute as well. I think Slido, yeah. There's a Slido app on the screen. So please add your questions or your comments and that QR code. I know both of you are here. You might have to. Sorry. Okay. Right there. Awesome. Okay. I'm so grateful to having these wonderful men with us here. Let me quickly just do a quick introduction first of all to each one of them. Danny over here, him and I work together with Immigrants Outreach Society. We do a lot of work together with the families in our community. Danny is a public relations professional within the Eritrean community and also an insurance broker with BrokerLink. He's passionate about advocacy and committed to being strong voice for the voiceless. So please let me appreciate Danny. I would say my co-laborer, my co-partner. You know, Danny's the only one that would call me at 2 a.m. and say, "Dee, I have someone." And I could call him like 10 times a day and say, "Danny, I need your help. I need a translator, or I need something from you." And, he's a great resource for us at Ruth's house. And then on my right here is, someone that's very, very important to our organization. Third here is the mental health and psychosocial support practitioner and narrative therapist with over 16 years of experience. He's also one of the board of directors at Ruth's House Society and has supported children, youth, and families across 25 countries in Eastern and Southern Africa. He brings expertise in healing, resilience, and community support. Please let me acknowledge. On my left here is the one that gives me lots of trouble. Oh, he's also one of my go-to Center for Newcomer and in the community here. This my one and only for Betty Dinga is a dedicated and culturally responsive community relations specialist with a passion for fostering inclusive communities and building strong partnerships to support the settlement and integration of newcomers. He currently works with the Center for Newcomers, and he's the only person that will call me and say, Mama, I need your help. And he also knows that a CT double double and lunch will always open the door for him. So let me give it up for and this last gentleman that I'm going to be introducing, he is a strong voice in the work that we do at Mandela House. Ben is a therapist who provides trauma-informed, culturally responsive care in both emergency and private practice settings. He serves as the director at Ruth House Society and supports community programming through Mandela House. Ben brings experience in crisis support and short-term intervention that promotes healing and resilience. Apart from that, Ben also oversees our counseling students supervision and is also provides, I would say, over 5-10 hours of counseling to all of our clients every week. So please let me appreciate them. Very hard worker in our community. Ruth House wouldn't be here without him. Mandela House definitely would not be here without his work in the area of counseling. So, gentlemen, I have a few questions, and I'm sure the audience also have questions. And I think that Slido is up on the screen. So yeah, so please, if you have a question, please, I don't know how it works. You scan, right? Scan the QR code, whatever code is on there, and post your question anonymously, or you can just come to the front and ask your question. The first question I have, let's start with Ben. And please, let's try and keep the answers, short and, bullseye. Why is it that men in our community why is it that men in our community are struggling in the areas of families? With their families?
Thank you, everyone. I especially work for my brothers who have made it aware because the deal is based upon your question again.
Why is it that men in our community are struggling? I mean, statistics says 1 in 2 couples that are newcomers in Alberta here are ending in family violence. Why is that from your experience, from your work?
Yeah, let's remember that we are working with men from a different cultural background, different experiences in life. Who themselves have gone through we grow up, where we grew up. Coming to the different context, older different, a lot of and one of the coming here, and
Let's say that most of them probably don't even know any families when we move. So we find that we are struggling the reality of the reality. Sometimes we are in trouble before we knew how little things like a little spark to get in the top. So we get into trouble. That's because we don't have so much information. We lack knowledge. There's a bridge between where we're
Because lack of education and awareness is something on the key. Pobete, you work at an organization that deals with a lot of settlements, newcomers. Do you, what do you see is one of the biggest challenges for men as newcomers in your life?
Let me use my natural voice. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I think it's a very exciting, but I think it's really unique for us to sit and talk about things that we already talked about. I work as a we live in a society that is so complex. And I would say the complexity of our society is making newcomers to struggle. When you started talking about men struggling, I said we should not say men struggle. Right on it. We should not say men struggle. The society made to a point where men can't even advocate. I'm from West Africa, from Cameroon. When I start there, I was just talking about the domestic violence. I'm honest to say, we do not know any concept of domestic violence. If you tell an African, or you tell somebody from Cameroon about domestic violence, it is strange to think. When you see people quarrel, that is part of life. It's normal for people to quarrel. It's normal for your husband or your wife to quarrel. But when you come to a new society, that quarrel is something else. It is being defined as domestic violence. I've treated a case of a young man who came from Africa. He and the wife had a misunderstanding. He sat in his living room. He saw the blue and red light. He was amazed. When he opened the door, behold, the guys in uniform came out and said, "We got a call from this." He was shocked. He called the wife and said, "Did you call the police?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Why did you call the police? Did I do anything to you?" I, you know, why? This young man ended up in a, he's gone back. The concept of domestic violence is not what we believe in Africa. And I do believe it is time for this system to create an awareness of what domestic violence is all about when integrating newcomers into a society. I was doing a presentation a couple of weeks ago. I was talking about cultural informed practice. A Canadian society believes that you have the right to make a decision. But in African context, it is a family or it is the head that makes the decision. Let's keep our bias aside and let's try to understand where people are and try to understand the context of marriage from an outside perspective. Where I come from, a family is not the father, the husband, the man, and the children. That is not a family. The family where I come from is the father, the husband, the wife, the children, the aunt, the uncle, the community, the village. That is the family. We say an adage, it takes a community to raise a family. But in our society, it takes that heart to raise that. You have to go to a state in that.
Thank you so much for that. It takes a village to raise a family. Judge, you're a researcher, and you've done a lot of research in this area. What have you seen in your research when it comes to families and the role of men?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I do research with the Faculty of Social Work here in country as a postdoctoral researcher, but also do international research with different communities in different countries. So um, um, what I see from a such point of view is that when conversation around domestic violence are held, most often men are portrayed as perpetrators or are absent. But on the other side, also research shows that we can't address domestic violence, we can't prevent domestic violence, we can't respond to domestic violence if men are not part of the conversation. So I see those two seemingly contradicting back, where on one side, the conversation are focused on the negative things, and usually men are not part of the interventions, the development of interventions and policy on addressing domestic violence. On the other side, it strongly demonstrated and acknowledged that they should. So I think it speaks to this, one of these summits to really break that silence, to start developing what I call a curriculum of strengths from a curriculum of silence, from what we as men, but also the society in general. From where I come from, we have this program that says what happens in the home stays in the home. But the question is, what if what is in the home is fear and terror? Should that stay in the home? Or should we stay and speak about it, do something?
My other question therefore is, again from your research, what are you seeing is the root causes of violence in the home?
They've had questions. There are many things here, and I will maybe pick a few things that are cultural, because yes, we are talking about context of men from African descent, but it's actually one, yeah, it cuts across cultures. But one thing that is, it's really the cultural, some of the cultural norms, the gendered norms that see men as the patriarchal systems, if you want, that see the men as this one who is aggressive and has to like, fight. And we forget that, for example, in our cultural tradition, the man is also a protector. And there are many factors, but the other one that I'm looking at now in research is also the intergenerational factor, that what we inherit from what we see in our homes, what we inherit from what we inherit from our cultures, what we swallow in our, what I call the culture of silence, also a big factor, but also yes, lack of knowledge as my fellows, lack of knowledge, lack of awareness of how to begin settlement. Talk more about that, but that's
No, I appreciate that, lack of awareness, intergenerational trauma that, men have gone through and it's playing out today. And so many other factors and the role reversal as well. Yeah, okay, so Danny, why are men not talking and asking for help? Or are men talking and asking for help?
I think growing up, be quiet. We were told to keep our emotions to ourselves. Um, like mostly we haven't seen like a father figure, especially if I'm gonna speak on behalf of the Eritrean people, because 5 decades there was war and men were serving and I don't think also they use so father figure and if you don't see a father figure in your life, like that's one side effect. Um, Plus we have trauma growing up. Even we feel with our parents, with our dads. Some of us were people, it was abused. Uh, and plus, like the situation of our country, was born and raised in Ethiopia, Eritrean, so I have voted because I was Eritrean. So when I went to Eritrea, that's when the first time like I was shocked. I have nothing, I have no like school friends or neighborhood or I struggled a lot to get used to that country and again it took me 3 days to escape to Sudan. Like I have to work 3 days and nights. It's not easy like the amount of trauma that went through. Some of them, their organs harvested, they were beaten, they were prisoned, that and someone most of them uh, they don't know love. You know. Um, And we didn't come like from the culture that you have to speak up or ask for help or counseling. If you ask someone like, why don't you do for counseling? They think that they are crazy to tell them about counseling. So we don't believe in counseling or we don't see the benefit of counseling. Uh, I think those are the things it's preventing us from asking for help. Or I think maybe plus at least you need to trust someone. If I go and tell someone my problems, that person, if they're not professional, they might not keep my secrets. So I think those are the reasons that we don't come for help.
No, but I was seeing that in our work that, a lot of people, don't want to come to us because they're like, African, I don't trust you. You're black, I don't trust you. And we have to explain, confidentiality and privacy law and all of those things in order for us to be able to get them to open up. And I find that, a lot of men are suffering from depression. Then I remember we had a case together one time. One of the gentlemen had gone through so much that he was suicidal. I remember calling you late at night and we were trying to talking to calming down. Because he wasn't able to see his children, his spouse had just, made it, things so difficult for him. And he just had a breakdown one night. And, I remember calling you, we brought you in and trying to make sure that he, get him to talk and get him to just calm down and not do something that is going to, that will end his life. Um, what can we do to support our men that are not talking? Because I work with a lot of men and, getting them to talk is difficult. Yeah. And, but we are able to work with some that do talk. But that for everyone that talks, there's probably 100 that are silent, struggling in silence, not talking. As a therapist, what can we do as a community to create an environment where men can talk? Especially, based, listening to Danny, a lot of our men have gone through intergenerational trauma. There was child soldiers. They've gone through so much. And now they're in a society and they're now being accused of abuse. And we don't even understand the word abuse. So what can we do collectively to ensure that men get access to help, that they talk?
Just like everyone has said, we need to create that okay to reach out. Second, we have to create like some of my fellow sometimes they don't trust this. And it has happened in our community when somebody will tell you something and the next time you hear it, we need to feel, make them feel welcome into a space. From that, we need to be active listening to people's story. Whatever they're presenting, we don't have to, we cannot shut them down. The moment we kind of shut down. We also need to ensure that we are there for them. And a lot of work that we do also is around validation. No matter how in the wrong we think the men are, they are looking for an outcome where they will feel heard and engaged. We need to get them in the door. And the way we do that is to open that schedule. They come in, listen, give them that validation. And here I can see your place, even though you are the one that has been given. Also going through situations that need to be known. So creating that space, probably when hear what they have done, listen to their stories, and see how they. And it's very good that we inform men that they are not it. Yes, much does the society tell them that if we actually want to get them to be, let them know that no matter what. And that's one of the things that Ruth have, no matter for it, follow you right from when you get it before.
Thank you so much for that. It's so important that men know that they're not alone and they don't have to carry this whole thing alone. Don't try, society expects you to, to be the breadwinner, to be the strong one. And inside you're breaking, inside, we're talking about men's mental health this month. The statistics of the number of men that commit suicide is very high. Because again, men are not talking. Roberte, do we have enough resources in Alberta, Calgary, to support men going through crisis? Because the reason, I'm asking you because your organization is a pillar in society, for newcomers to come, for immigrants to come. And then yet, when I look at, when a man has been removed from the home due to family violence, there's nowhere for him to go. You know, most places they will consider is the drop-in center. How many of you have been to the drop-in center? Yeah, that's not a place you send somebody. Yeah, or they will say go to mustard seed. We do a lot of work with mustard seed. It's not an ideal place as well. You know, there aren't enough places for men who are going through family violence that have been removed from the home to say, go and stay. We have a lot of men that sleep in their cars because they don't want people to know what they're going through. So my question for Betty, do we have enough resources to support men? Let me even ask the audience, put your hands up if you think we have enough resources to support men in society. Okay, put your hands up if you think we have a lot of resources to support women. Sympathetic. As an agency, do we have enough resources that maybe we don't know?
The thing is, we didn't have resources for having enough. That's just I'm just
Okay.
we didn't have for having enough resources. The reality is that we don't have resources. I'm just hoping that the system should be aware that we are falling behind, and to make our society more sustainable and more attractive, we need to start creating resources. You know, having worked with under immigration for a long time and going to school, studying and writing on immigration, I tell folks that immigration took Canada on the way. Resources were not put in place. They were very happy about immigration, but they didn't know the in-depth the in-depth about immigration. So we are at a point where we need to understand that to attract and to bring people into our society and to make our society more sustainable, we need to come up with resources, services that can people in need. Right? Because before attracting newcomers or people from diverse cultural backgrounds, the system had already been structured in a way that meets the needs of those who are in the system. But attracting new people, new culture into the already built system becomes a problem. Because you and I don't understand these other cultures that we are attracting into our society. But we really so much love them and we want them to stay. We need to come up with resources, with services that will not only attract them, but make our society more happy and welcome.
For men.
Google, but I see women.
Okay,
What I
that's
see is mentioned. So we need to go beyond the shelter stage.
well, this is why I have my good friend taking notes. Danny, what role does faith and religion play when it comes to the work that we do with domestic violence? Because I see our work with, and religion, and especially when, working with the East African community, help us understand the role of faith and religion when it comes to domestic violence. How important is it? And is it something that is, that is highly considered?
The problems are like faith leaders. I don't feel like they're psychologically capable in counseling. So they know the Bible word. They are good at telling the verse. But they're not like good at counseling. They might tell you they might counsel you based on the Bible verse. That's it. I'm from the Orthodox church. So everything they associate with the religion or with the Bible. Um, don't think most of the time they will tell them, "Oh, it's okay, go and get counseling from psychologists." They'll just tell in black and white based on the Bible verse, and that's it. I think definitely if our leaders um, have the psychology training, uh, that's, that's why most of the
Judge, if you could, based on your research, and what advice would you give to government about policies that can better support our community? Advice would you give to policymakers, to better support families?
Well, just come back on because we were discussing, I think, making policies that would provide more resources to families. I don't quite agree with the fact that we have been given enough. So, we also discussed about how many calls, for example, you for a day or in a month of women calling to get help. So now that talking about men, that's also another reason that's been difficult. So I think resources, but also thinking about prevention. People, I see a lot of resources like shelters that is addressing or intervening when the house is already burning. But what if also would invest a lot in preventing things to happen at this place? And how do we, like government, could they put up policies and provide resources? For example, uh, putting boys and young people when they are like, working with them when they are still young in order to prevent harm to happen later on. When we look at data mapping of resources, for example, targeting young people, for younger ones when they are still in elementary school, things happen like childhood, yes. And when you look at young people, um, adolescenthood or young adulthood, new plan that so those are the men of tomorrow or women of today and tomorrow. And so I think policy wise, engaging communities, engaging um, men and women, putting up interventions that really is address the violence, focus also on prevention before things happen, running to the fire above when you could have prevented it to burn in the place. So I think prevention is key, but of course, dealing when it's so, one other thing that I think control responsive, um, we can actually harm both policies. But really take into consideration all those factors that we discussed here. The actually wants the awareness that is needed.
So, invest more in policies and policies that focuses on children early, from the early childhood. I think that's really important, start the education young and include men in the conversation. That is definitely very important. Does anybody have a contribution in the audience or a comment? There was a contribution or comment somewhere, I can't see. Ben. Who are the we? Collect.
If in the context, let's say just trying to understand the context and see how.
I think you meant we as a collective, a community that, have to, that, we all together, have the ability to solve this issue, to make provisions available. Would you say so?
Let me think about it.
Who's the we as a we? Who's the we? The government, the nation, or the Black community?
When we talk about so I believe so much in
Mhm. Go ahead.
we have to let the government know these are the voices of the community. And we are presenting to her as a can there be a change? Or because we understand where they come from. Believe we have built that relation. If we have hope, we need to resolve this question.
Awesome. Final words, Ben. Go ahead.
Two things. One was, thank. Yeah. Thank you. So yes. When you're saying we, how I took it as a society, right? This is something that we as the village of people around us is who we need. I unfortunately need to take away. Dee already knows that I want every piece of information that you guys are willing to share with me, so that I can go ahead and advocate Monday evening in debate. When we're talking about, can we provide a beautiful solution to the government and say, hey, this is gonna fix things, let me see, please. But I will counter a little bit the comment about like coming together with a solution package and being like, here you are. Unfortunately, it's going to take more than that. And so these are the conversations that are actually going to get us there. One, of course, now I had the privilege of listening, being present for part of this. So that is in my head, which means it's now going to be in all of my colleagues' heads as well. And when we're debating, because we are actively in the session right now, right? I will be thinking of all of the amazing things that I've heard and that will be shared with me. These are the conversations that actually get us there. So please. Yes, I'm here and I'm gone, but my cards are here. Please reach out. This is so very important. And as I said before, I mean, early childhood is not only my shadow portfolio, but I mean, this is part of a huge, this is a huge part of the final solution. And so thank you guys, and I will shut up.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Ben, for Bete. Thank you, Danny, and thank you, Serge. We're going to continue this conversation. It's not over with another set of panels, but we do want your contribution. We're here to have a conversation. So please don't just listen. We want to hear you because the collective here tonight are here to make, to speak out and to make sure that we can have a voice. So on the commitment wall, please also write your thoughts, write on the walls your ideas, write on the walls things you think as a collective, as a community, we can do to support men. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much to all the panelists, to the facilitator. Great insight. Minister, as I did, you learned a lot. And there's two questions that in what change in policy for everything that I'll go on with is we have a collective forum to address the main issues broadly. So before we go for our break, two quick things. So don't forget to write your commitment and put them on the wall. So far I can see about 7 of them. So I think we are about like 30 plus. So don't be shy, okay? No judgment. Juste en français, vous pouvez, s'il vous plaît, utiliser les post-it qui sont sur votre table, écrire vos engagements pour sur la question la question de la question de la sécurité et la violence dans les familles du point de vue des hommes. So quick notable as well, social media personnel will be asking for a short video during the break. So if someone comes to you during the break and asks for to record, it's because they are recording some short video, and that will help with the communication afterward. And we'll be back in about 10 minutes here. So please feel free to have some coffee, tea, and we are here tonight to talk about men's point of view when it comes to family crisis, family violence. Okay, so we have more questions, and after the break, we'll address them. Okay, I'll shut up for now, and I'll see you in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for making.
We are moving to admin. Welcome to marketing. Okay, okay. We are going to deal with, have you please, wanna open on here? Okay. Can you hear me all? Hello? Hello? Background. Okay, thank you. So there are some people on the table. No, Ruth House, I need some financial support for the work they are doing. So please, send the QR code and, yeah, it's the beauty with, online banking, because, we don't have a lot of rules. Just switch it and more. So that's the first thing. Second, I would like to acknowledge that the sponsors of Ruth House and for this event. I'll start with, Temitope Olukunle. Okay, thank you. Oh, please stand up. Yeah, I know he's kind of very up. Please, right. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And volunteer too. Wow, double hat. Next is the Southern African market. That's one of the famous shops in the entire and foreign area. Hotmail Global Food. You're somewhere. Yeah, please. Wait. Thank you for your support and the hard work you're doing. And we have indirect entertainment. Here we go. You want to get the videos and it's so quiet. But I love the equipment. So, so professional. Wow, awesome. If you want to be also a sponsor or a partner, please reach out to the team and they'll make sure to tell you how you can support. I would like us to give a big round of applause to all the volunteers of Mandela and Ruth. No, that's not enough. Let's start over. I would like us to put our hands together to celebrate and say thank you to all the volunteers of Mandela and Ruth Town. Way better. Okay. Oh. Full of food. Yeah, I was smiling, happy. Sorry, that's my African. I know. So I'll call here Pastor Obi Olubuti. He's a resident pastor of household of David Calgary. And he's also a police officer. Very interesting background. And he's going to deliver us a powerful spoken word is on men, family, and resilience. If we put our hands together and welcome Pastor Obi. Yeah. Appreciate it. That putting out the pastor is down perspective. But that said, well, there is no gender in the poem. So as I perform the poem, whatever gender comes to your mind, it's probably the biggest. Yes. Most times people assume the gender of the male. Intentionally wrote it to be neutral, to not mention any gender, but we all know statistics also shows the gender that is. Yeah. Listen and enjoy.
for better or worse, till death do us part. This was the promise made the day you had my heart. Like a watered garden, our love blossomed right from the start. Ours was a love to admire like a precious piece of art, like a dream come true. I was glad I had you. And as time flew by, our love grew older. The bonds of affection holding us together grew weaker. It was as though the love that we once had imploded inside our hearts. I wonder, could this be the death they say will tear us apart? But wait, we got kids to raise. And though we were done, I still stuck to this place. My body became a punching bag for your furious feet. My heart became a dumping ground for your abusive words. My emotion became a toy for you to fiddle with. My head was telling me to go, but my heart was telling me no. I wanted to be a soldier and not flee battle. I wanted to fight for a love that was so fickle. And like a fallen soldier, the bullets of your words reached right through my heart. Your clenched fist snuffed out the air inside my lungs till my heart stopped beating, and I suddenly realized that I had been fighting a lost battle. God, I should have cried for help when I was battered. I should have waved the white flag and surrendered. Now the remains of my lifeless body is lowered beneath the earth. The world and everything that I worried about have moved on, but I am here alone, buried together with these thoughts within my chest, as my bruised body reunites with dust below, and my broken spirit ascends to its maker above, you see. I'm telling you this story so you don't have to repeat it. While you still can, bring the pieces of your broken heart to God. He will mend it. He will make you a masterpiece with peace that you cannot afford. Please believe it. His arms are open wide to embrace you. If only you will receive it. And if ever you need a shoulder to rest or cry upon, come to Ruth's house or Mandela's house, where you can find someone. Abuse is a plague that affects everyone. And if your life is in danger, pick up your phone and call 911.
Okay,
Don't call 911.
Okay. You know, Pastor, you say, Mama, I need. So I was just thinking, if he hadn't introduced Mr. Holly, I would have said he is an artist. He is Islam. He is, Iraq. Please, another round of applause for. And as he was telling us that he, something came to my mind. Remember, I said my favorite place at Mandela's house, where I come from, and describing the same thought. Men talk stereotypes around for fact. Beware of this someone who has thought about. Let's think about it when we work on the tool that will help us solve this issue. Maybe the way to do it is not a traditional. We might need to have like a transition that will help us to mold the tool and the way from where we are coming from, where we to go. Okay, enough thoughts from me. We have another panel, And what we will do with this new panel, we're going to try to answer some of the questions that you have submitted through the QR code that was shared earlier. So what I will do, I will call our panelists first, and then I'll let our facilitator, I'll say who will be facilitating this second panel discussion. So the theme of this second panel is healthy masculinity, accountability, and safe masculinity, la responsibility in the family. So the first person I'll call here is au Cameroun, on dira l'homme n'est rien sans son bois. En 5 ans camerounais, on dit la blague. So let's start with Mr. Harold Opula. Il est le président de l'association nigériane canadienne de Calgary et un professionnel évolué des technologies de l'information et il dirige les initiatives communautaires de soutien à la planification stratégique et le développement technologique au sein de son organisation. Please, let's welcome here on the stage Mr. Harold Opula. I was invited as a bilingual MC, so we'll be learning both languages, you know. Sorry. All right, so Mr. Charles Odani. He is the executive director of the You want French, Hamedi? Let's go for it. So Dr. Charles Odani Ankra est le directeur général, directeur exécutif du collectif de la communauté africaine de Calgary et il est un scientifique spécialisé dans l'innovation environnementale. Il dirige des programmes communautaires qui favorisent l'équité, la collaboration et l'autonomisation. Please, all right, Dr. Charles Odani Ankra. Well done, well done. Please double up on the applause. Exactly. Our third panelist will be Mr. David Bradshaw, and I'll follow through. French, yeah? Got it? All right. So David Bradshaw est l'actuel président de la Chambre de commerce noire de Calgary, un organisme voué au mentorat, au perfectionnement professionnel et à la création d'opportunités pour les jeunes et les professionnels noirs de Calgary. Fort de plus de 25 ans d'expérience en leadership dans les domaines de l'expérience à la clientèle, vente et opération, il a mené des équipes vers l'excellence et à l'échelle nationale et internationale. Please all welcome Mr. David Bradshaw. Applaudissez, merci, monsieur, applaudissez. I told you, Dr. Charles is bilingual. Welcome, my friend. And then I'll call Pastor D, who will participate one more time in this panel. Please, under the applause. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup, and très bien. Okay, here's some serious questions that are here. Leaders, you are leaders in society. Dr. Charles, you used to be the Ghana president, and you are now the Calgary African Community Collective executive director and a leader in our community. Mr. David Bradshaw, you are the executive director or president of Calgary Black Chambers. Yeah, you're the leader, you're the boss. You know, and Alhaji Arun, you are the president of the Nigerian Canadian NCAC. Nigerian Canadian Association of Calgary. Know my community. And you used to be the president of the Yoruba Association. As leaders, thank you so much for being here. You know, our community, our leaders are often the first people we go to when we have a crisis in the community, whether faith leaders, whether community leaders, just leaders in general. I want to ask you, first of all, what is the role of the man in the home? Can I start with that? What is the role of men, first of all? You know, because, and the reason why I'm asking is in Canada, there's, you know, a lot of confusion about who's responsible for what in the home. Yeah? You know, I often hear from a lot of my women, you know, he's the head of the house, he's responsible, you know, and because he's not doing his job, she's doing the work, it's causing problems. So walk us through as leaders, who is actually, what are the roles and what should be the roles in the family? Does that make sense? Alhaji, can I start with you?
I don't think I need a mic. Can you guys hear me?
Very cool.
So first I want to thank the organizers for putting this together. This is very, very needed in our community. A big round of applause to what was the role and who's the guy. And I'm going to speak from my own experience. I like to use my own example to kind of, teach people, things that are. So I don't actually see myself the top person in mind. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So my wife and I, we run a couple of businesses. I'm very bad with finances, right? So when I mean bad, if you come to me and you say you need 100,000, I'll go and withdraw everything in my account.
We need 100,000.
I've done several businesses that I felt at the problem. Right? And trust me, my wife actually wanted me not to go into those businesses. But because of my nature and ego, I went to them and I learned my big lesson. Right? And so I've learned that I need to work with my wife more. Right? She's very, very good when it comes to finance. She's very, very good when it comes to accountability. She's very good when it comes to being very, very transparent and all that kind of stuff. So she's the head when it comes to finances. Right? I'm not the head when it comes to that. Right? There are some other areas where I take the lead, right? For the kids, right? I tell people that, my wife didn't actually know where my kids actually put their sporting event. And there was a day I couldn't make it to the basketball, right, to take my daughter there. And I sent her to go, and she got lost. And she came back, and she started fighting me for that. For saying that she was drop the kids. Like, why would you ask me to go and drop the kids at basketball, right? So the reason why I'm giving you all these examples is you need to actually look at what you are good at in your family and then what your spouse is good at in your family. And then based on that, you can say, okay, you lead this aspect, I lead that aspect. Like I said, we run a couple of companies. My wife is the president of two of our companies. We have three companies. My wife is the president of two. I say it publicly so that people will know that at the end of the house, you don't call the head of the house. It doesn't really matter. Look at who is good in what and the rest of it. I work for City of Calgary. I'm an IT leader there. My wife has all the time. We actually agree that she should resign my job to start this company. So who is best fit for those roles? Wow. So she is the president of those, out of the three companies, she's the president of two of them.
I run the operation for most of those companies. So we have a logistic company. I'm the operation director. I do all the operational hiring, all this kind of stuff. I lead all the stuff. And then she led some other stuff, right? So she's in several meetings doing all this kind of stuff because I have to be at my job. And the other stuff that we're doing, we have an engineering company. She's an electrical engineer. I'm the business development manager. I look for business, right? So what I'm trying to say here is the concept of who's the head of family, I think is, it doesn't really exist for me because, I just choose what I'm good at, what my wife is good at, and then we just run our house based on that.
That's amazing.
Right. So the kids, of course, they watch that. Everything that you do in the house, the kids watch, they watch what you're doing. And trust me, our kids are actually modeling our behavior as well. We have a very, very friendly home, right? And when my kids, when they call at times, they were like, how's that your husband doing? Right? Because, I might be in the house and then, I might call my wife, the boss, right? Okay, the boss asked me to go and do this. I'm talking to my son now. So the boss asked me to go and do this. I need to get it done and all this kind of stuff. So, to me, the concept of who is the lead doesn't really exist.
Thank you very much. Does that make sense to everybody? You are the lead of whatever you're good at. Yeah? You can't be the head and you're terrible at managing the money. Yeah? That's very good. David, what would you have to add to that?
It's a fact. So, for example, my wife does most of the cooking, but I do all the cleaning because I like to clean. Be meticulous at assess what leaves me, and I do. I take care of all the financial situations. That finance, all the so for us, the co-lead the household, right? Does all the laundry. She won't allow me to do the laundry because
Have you mixed colors?
because I was in with the underwear and just kind of just throw it in the wash because I just want it over and done with, right? But so she won't allow me to and we have a daughter and she's the decisions are made. There's some decisions about my daughter because she's a woman. Just don't get involved. So that's my opinion on that. I to make that. So I think that house, but you just need to know your place. Yeah, right. Know your place. You need to know your point with that. Say to us, they're coming and going. You could fight. You don't. She's not trying to fight me over the finance. She's in the meetings when we talk, but she's not the one that's taking the lead, nor does she want.
That's amazing. I love that whole lead. Dr. Charles.
Thank you very much. When it comes to the home, family services are thousands and thousands. It's not new. And it's dynamic. When you ask somebody who grew up in my culture from Ghana, where we are matrilineal, which means that the women are the most powerful decision makers in the entire family. The women decide who becomes the king. The women decide if you want to get rid of the king, you need to talk to the woman, and they will decide yes, it's a go, and it's done. So if you come from my dad's side, which is patrilineal, where men take the most domineering, difficult task. Let me put it that way. The men are out there in the rain, digging the trenches, bringing everything home, making sure the house. The women are. One thing I have to make it very clear is that there's no, when we call home, we think it's just within the four walls of a building. The home is an institution, both inside the house and outside. So, who is good at working on the outside? Who is good at working on the inside? That is where leadership comes in, and fairness comes in. And one thing that my wife will always tell you, when you talk about, oh, does the husband cook? Shoot them. I don't like my husband. He's a good cook, but I don't let him cook. Because I can't just find this man working 17 hours, coming home, and honestly ask him to go for him to go cook. I want to make sure that he gets food to eat when he comes home, because he's taking care of the other external factors to our benefit. So it's a well-balanced partnership. The kids, they watch us. My daughter knows that when anything she wants, can get it from me. Don't get it from my wife. So she'll come to me first. Daddy, can I get this? And when it's a go, the green light is given, then she goes to my wife and says, Daddy says that. And I'll get into trouble for it. So then we quickly figured out that, no, we need to make sure we tighten up this company to ensure that this reloaded are brought in line. So now, anytime house I said, did you ask mommy? Man, but it's still working in unison. And it's the same thing. If the two of you don't see eye to eye, the man is firing ahead and the woman is derailing him. Or the woman is firing ahead, the man is derailing her, there's chaos. But it depends on your situation. And I told something to my wife, I said, please stop trying to raise me. My mom raised me already. Raise your son to become the man you want him to be when he grows up. I've already been damaged by another woman.
Don't damage us. Don't damage us.
Yes, so far as the end result, sequence of years of something that has gotten to that point. A lot of us don't get to that point. I guess my question is, what is that process? How do you get to that? Not a matter of just this is possible. It's more of a everybody comes into marriage from different, especially now that we're multicultural, everybody comes from different cultures. Like, how do you consolidate the two different identities into partnerships? So,
Hold on to that one, just, I'm gonna we're gonna come to that question. Get ready to answer that question. My first question is, what would you say to newcomers, young couples who are coming into Canada who are struggling? I think I had a conversation with you earlier on that, within 5 years of being in Canada, a lot of marriages are ending in domestic violence and divorce. 1 in 2 couples within 5 years. A lot of our, leaders have been married for years. They've been in Canada for years. What advice would you give to young couples who are struggling? And, what advice would you give to young couples who are struggling in Canada as newcomers, new immigrants? And then we're going to go to this question.
So, I celebrated our 25th anniversary. That was
Congrats.
this,
Congrats.
you know, I can tell you that it's not. But one thing that I would say, you know, whether fail or, you know, one thing that the mistake that we make is trying to change the other. Remember, before you met this person, maybe that person, before you got married, with like, you know, 25 years, you know, 26 years, 23 years before you met that person. So that's an adult that you're trying to change to secure. So you're just wasting your time. So you met this lady, you met this man, you need to just accept that person the way and then try to walk around it. Compromise. My wife is I like to use my example because that's how I think. My wife is very hardworking. Uh, it would be very, very bad to expect her for me when she comes back from the lake. And she's strong, you know, like when I mean strong. I don't want to use the word that Dr. used. When we came to Canada, right? I like to eat my fresh from the book. And then she was like, okay, you know, like, you know, I was a student then, so like, okay, I'm in the lab. Something. Started walking and I got busy. And I started demanding for the same. So like, if you want to eat, go to the freezer, eat it. Right? That's the reality. Because, you know, she is trying to tell me, you can't expect me to go and cook you fresh rice every day, right? So she's straightening me up, basically. And as a man, you need to open your mind. You need to be reasonable and try to relate to where she's coming from. But at that point in time, if I push back and like, oh, I'm the head of the house, you have to cook for me, you have to cook this fresh rice. I'm just like, so I realized that it was very, very unreasonable of me to demand things like that from her. Another thing that I think typically causes issues is finance, right? I'm a Muslim, right? So I take it as my responsibility to take care of the house, right? So I might not have a lot of money, right, saved in the bank, but I make sure that, you know, I take care of my family because that's what my religion teaches, right? So what I also know is when I need money, when I need help, I don't need to stop work. You know, I gave Pastor Didi's example before. The house they were living at, right? I was like, oh, I check the house out and blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I think we need about those funds. I need to save money. And my wife gave me $5,000. So what I tell people is, if you are nice to your wife, right? If you take care of them, right? If you love them the way they're supposed to be loved, you don't need to ask them for anything, right? They will bring whatever they've been saving for the past 10 years, for the last 20 years. They will use it to give you, support the family, right? If they've been saving for like they have 100,000 in their account, trust me, it's still your family that they're gonna spend it on. Your son, your daughter, yourself, she's looking beautiful, she's buying all this. It's still you that money is coming to. It's not to an external. So because I've been privileged to, you know, settle some stuff with families, and some will be saying, oh, my wife has this money and she's sending it to Nigeria and all this kind of stuff, and you will just give yourself a thing. Right? Just focus on what you need to do as a man. Take care of her, and trust me, she will be the best wife and she will be the best mother to your family.
Thank you. That's a good one. If you do your thoughts, you'll do their thoughts. Thank you, your financial, your financial advisor, banking. Your background is in banking. Money is probably one of the most very top. No, money is usually the primary causes of abuse in the home. I've seen a lot of couples fight over child benefits, who gets the child benefits. I've seen couples fight over she's not helping me financially and she needs to give me money to support me with the bills. I've seen, I've heard a lot of different things. What would you advise to men when it in the areas of money, the areas of finances, because it is causing a lot of abuse and divorce in our community?
Back.
I didn't know I had such a baby voice. So this all kind of intertwines with everything. So for me, the advice that I would give is to communicate, right? That's where it all starts from because I actually saw my parents, so I witnessed them go through a very difficult time when they were coming to. I watched my parents bicker, argue, money, about jobs, about my father couldn't get this particular job because he had to go back to school. So I actually saw that one thing that I did not see them do is that they didn't communicate properly with one another. So what happens, and this is where it gets into money. So what would happen is my dad wasn't the best at taking care of money. My mother was actually stronger in that area. But she thought the role of a man was to take care of the money. So what happens in those particular scenarios is that there's a lot of things that get unsaid, a lot of resentment that builds up, and that resentment turns into anger. And depending on your nature and how you're wired and what you witnessed, what you experienced in life, that can turn into violence. It didn't turn into that with my friend, but I saw the bickering because they weren't communicating with one another. They weren't talking about the issues and trying to solve the problem together. They were blaming one another. There was finger pointing going. You should be doing this. How come you're not up doing this? What about that job over there? And then he's arguing with her, well, you need to take care of this. You do this for the people. So you see this bickering, and I'm being vulnerable here, sharing this because I saw it from experience. So what I've learned is that you have to take the problem face on, and you need to do it together. Solve the problem together. So when you talk about finances, the like finances, although I'm very good with that, my wife, when we're meeting with our financial advisor to go through our numbers and to see where he's in that meeting with me. I don't go in there by myself and completely figure out so that she also understands what's going on with the money as well. And she'll come to me and ask me questions. So a lot of it is just centered around communication, figuring it out together, working together to solve the problem.
I just want to add to what is said. So some of the things I've had from and you guys, right? I don't want your wife to know how you're heading, right? Because stuff, right? So here is the advice that I typically give, right? Try to have 4 accounts. So one is joint. My wife and I, we have a joint account that she never contributed, by the way. And then have a personal. They like to spend from the joint account, but she never. So what I'm trying to say is have 4 accounts, joint one that you will truly based on how much you're in, have a personal individual account, and then have one that is for your investment. So you will agree with your spouse that, okay, certain percentage of your salary, 20%, 10%, we go into that account for investment. I have my own personal account that I can spend any amount that I get permission from anyone. And then we have a joint one, which is for utilities and bills and the
That's actually a great one. We always tell people you gotta have those three accounts. Your own personal account. Yeah, and this is the advice we give to our women as well. You gotta have your own personal account. You gotta have a joint account for all the bills and decide on how much you both contribute based on your income. And then you gotta have, like he says, your own, savings account. Dr. Charles, I gotta ask you, we work with a lot of hurting men in our community, men that have been abused by women, men that have been damaged by their mother, like you like to say. What advice would you give to those men based on based on what you've learned as a leader in the community?
Thank you very much. Already, a man that is hurt is likely to hurt everyone around him. A man that is full of love is likely to love everybody around him. And there's no exception. His children, wife, and the family, it affects everyone. Where does the hurt come from? In our culture, because of our culturally, how we are raised culturally to be responsible in ensuring that the family is running smoothly, that the kids have a place to put their head, they're waking up, they're going to school, the kids are doing fantastic, the wife is happy, the extended family back home are doing well. They need something to call you, you're not ready to do what you have to do. When you are unable to meet those thresholds, it throws you into a deep state of confusion and you begin to unravel. That's a person. And unfortunately for Black men, when we come to Canada, we are faced with a huge barrier of employment. So that perception of being able to provide becomes elusive. You begin to have anxiety, you begin to panic, you begin to stress. And if you have a wife or a partner who does not meet you at your point of need, the very first person you begin to resent is her. In my culture, there's a saying in my culture that when a woman buys a gun, she keeps it in the room of a man because the man is supposed to use the gun to go and hunt and bring meat home in the olden days. So the woman can work, buy the gun. It's not special for the woman to take the gun and go and hunt and bring meat. It's the man's duty. So in this context, you see your husbands truly suffering. And guess what they do? They become very generous, very kind, and they try to meet the man where they are at that moment to help them to get back on their feet. There are other women, that's the time they hit the man hardest. You're a lazy man, they keep this negative tendencies and very hurtful words. Women are very good with their choice of words when they're describing their husband, when they're angry. And they have no idea the damage they do. One of the best advice my grandmother gave me, when you're angry, walk out of the house. Just get out and walk out of the house. Because every man has a monster in him. That testosterone that we have, monster. Don't ever think you can ever abuse or beat your wife. That is a warning to all of us. When you snap, the things you will do is shock you. The best thing to do when you reach your certain point, walk out. Disengage, disconnect. But most of the time, we don't have anywhere to go here. Back home, when I push from work, things are not going well at home, I just call my buddy. Hey, what's happening? There's some light soup somewhere and some people trying. We go and sit there and talk about our wives all night. We go home and sleep. You're okay. In Canada, there's nobody, there's no safe space. You call your friend is also dealing with the same thing. Or he's working his third shift job. He has no time for you. Or he will tell, oh, you're not experiencing it. It's like, I'm taken with mine. There's no safe space for us to have this authentic conversation and recover. So that throws us. And when you get into that depressed state, recovery, if you're not careful, is possible. Because now you go into a state of navigating your depression. And one of the symptoms we talked about is that we don't talk. We are quiet because we've reached a point of silence. And when we reach that point of silence, there are two things that could follow: death for us or violence. It's a very dark place. No, I wish no man will ever get there.
Thank you so much. A final question. I want to go into the questions, and I'm going to ask somebody. Oh, the question, the process. Yes. I'm going to ask David. We talked about some of the things we talked about, like there's we're co-heads, we're co-leaders, we're doing things life together. But how do we get there? I mean, I've heard you said something. He said that before you marry that woman, she was independent, she was doing her own thing. You've got two independent people that are trying to work things out together and get to the place where you can celebrate 25 years of marriage. What's the process, right? What's the process? What has been your process? I'll ask you all very briefly.
Let me just give you a example. I came as a
What's your question?
The conversation, what he said. If, for example, someone questions, what? Three. That's the model. As children grew up learning. You grow up, know that dad does all this. The role is not, it's not, this is what the dad, it's not a traditional what the dad does. Marrying into another family where the mom is at home, dad does not cook, does not clean. And both of them are getting married and having different, and it works for them. It works for this dad that cooks. It also works for this dad that does not cook, and the wife is here. Great. So this child says that, oh, this works for my family. This is how a family should look like. Child says that this works for my family. This is how a family should look like. Both of them meet together, having conflicting ideas about what a dad, what the parents do. How do we not solve these differences? Because most of the time, people don't even know what is causing. They're just reacting, but they don't know why. They don't even know.
How do you, yeah.
when you have a strange bedfellow, you call a wife or husband. That's when you marry somebody you don't know. And in our generation, unfortunately, that's what we are doing. We only see the outward presentation. We don't dig deeper. My parents, my grandparents, how did they get married? You see a woman, you tell your parents, they set up an investigative team to go and investigate the family, where the child comes from, how she grew up. Are they still in that family? Are they crazy people in that family? They will do all of that. My son, no, find another one. Today, we meet somebody online.